All right, so let's just settle into our meditation posture. So take a nice deep breath and try and land. And a good way to do that is initially, because most of us arrive at these sessions probably in our heads. So let's just move from the head to the body, to the physical. And we can start that by just, if your feet are flat on the floor, just feel the toes, the toe pads, the soles of the feet, the heels of the feet, and the weight of the legs in your ankles and in your feet. Be sitting on top of your sits bones. And if you're sitting in the regular cross-legged position, also be sitting right on top of your sits bones, and then your shoulders align with the hips. I think there was a puppy there that wanted to join us. And then, as best you can, this is not available for everyone, just imagine you've got your Dr. Spock ears, for those of us who remember Star Trek. You can imagine someone's pulling you by your ears, so you're lengthening your neck, and then glide your head backwards. So your head or your ears are in line with your shoulders. You might also have to imagine you have a string of light from your sternum, just pulling you. So you're just extending your sternum a little bit forward. So you don't want to be hyperextending your back. You're just kind of maybe lifting a little bit. So you're not slouching. So we have a very heavy bowling ball of a head, and this often gets us into quite a bit of trouble because we're spending, for those people in this room who aren't very old, and have grown up with this thing of looking at the phone all the time. So the head is forward. For people who do a lot of meditation practice and a lot of practice in our tradition, the head is forward and down. So what's happening over time is you become to get a little bit round-shouldered. So as we get older, we really need to fight this, because my chiropractor tells me that once you start getting a rounded back and your neck gets out of alignment, it actually affects your cognition. So we want to keep ourselves nice and tall. And then just allow the head to very gently tip forward from the top of the spine. So a little bit of length in the back of the neck. And the eyes are down, looking along the length of the nose if they were open. So what we're doing here by tipping the head slightly forward is avoiding this, putting any kind of tension in the back of the neck. So when your chin is lifted and the back of the neck is constricted, apparently it creates a little bit of anxiety and a bit of agitation in the mind. And as we get further and further down the path of our meditation, we want to decrease the amount of agitation that is in the mind. So here we are, nicely settled. So bring your awareness to the crown of the head and just release any tension in the scalp and the forehead, the eyes, the nose, the cheeks. And just allow everything to release as you go down. Then bring your attention to the back of the head. Relax the neck, the shoulders, the shoulder blades, the throat, the chest, the belly, and all of your limbs. And then bring the mind to the breath and just notice the sensation of the air as you're inhaling and exhaling. And if there are any sounds in your environment, just allow those sounds to be there. So try not to follow the sounds with your mind. And then bring the mind again to the sensation of the air as you're inhaling and exhaling. And these sensations could be as simple as the breath as it's moving in and out of your nostrils, the rising and the falling of the chest, or the rising and the falling of the belly. So pick one, don't try to do all three at once. And then notice what thoughts are arising in the mind. So what kind of day have you had today? Well, Coral's had a very physical day today, so her body is tired. Other people may have jobs where their mind is more engaged, so that is the main focus for you. So what's really good here is if we can try and bring everything into balance, the mind, the body. So notice the thoughts that are arising. Are they future thoughts? Are they planning thoughts? Is there love in your heart? Or is there anger arising? And just allow these thoughts to bubble up. But then the trick is to not follow them or engage in them. So if you have, for example, virtuous thoughts, if there's love, of course, arising in your mind, I mean, that is excellent. So you can encourage those thoughts. If you have delusion arising in your mind, you can allow those thoughts to just drift away. Put them on a nice white fluffy cloud or a beautiful open lotus. And let them float off. Then let's just remember our river. Put yourself on the bank of your river and become aware of the quality of the water. Is it muddy? Is it clear? Is it moving swiftly? Is it turbulent? And you know, it might be different today than it was yesterday. And just acknowledge that to yourself. This is an example of how things change, how our mind changes. And then bring to mind all the people of your life. The ones we love, the ones we're not so fond of, and then those folks in our life who are just complete strangers. And they can all change place at any time, these people. They all are equal. They're the same as us in their wish to be happy and their wish to be free from suffering and having this unbelievable capacity for enlightenment. So we'll do this practice tonight. This is the purification practice in the context of Vajrasattva, this deity Vajrasattva, for all these beings in our life. And if there's anyone in your life who's passed away, you can bring that person to mind. There's some nuns in my life who died recently. And you can motivate for anything you wish. So perhaps the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So whatever is something that's personal for you. So just remembering there is no negativity that cannot be purified. And this purification process is basically a psychological one. So we're creating negativity with our mind so we can equally change it by creating positivity instead. So we start with the power of regret. So sincerely regret from the depths of your heart anything you have done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, and in all your past lives. And you can think of specific actions of both your body and your speech. And the reason we regret is based on this logic of karma. We experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions, and having caused suffering, we are going to experience some of it in the future. And we don't want any more than we're already experiencing. So therefore, it makes sense to pull out these seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So think like this: I regret from the depths of my heart having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows, because I do not want the future suffering. I'm sick of suffering. And also regret any anger, attachment, and the rest that are the cause of why we harm others, and think again, I'm sick of this suffering. And then think, okay, so what can I do about it? Whom can I turn to? So here we turn to the Buddha. This is the power of reliance. And in this case, it's Vajrasattva. And this is, we see this Buddha as a doctor rather than a higher power that we need to forgive us. So you can imagine Vajrasattva. Here we have this beautiful image of this tanka above the crown of your head. So this tanka is, as I've been saying, made of paint and canvas. But you imagine this as best you can. You don't have to worry about all the detail. This white, very loving, very compassionate, holy being above the crown of your head, facing the same way as you. You can also imagine this is maybe the mind of your teacher, if you have a teacher. This is the mind of that person manifesting in this form for your benefit. So he's made of blissful, radiant white light, sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion, and has a beautiful, radiant face and eyes shaped like lotus petals, and they're full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. And his arms are crossed at his heart, the left underneath the right, and the left is holding a bell representing wisdom. The right is holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion. And their being crossed represents enlightenment, infinite wisdom, infinite compassion. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. So in order to develop compassion, we need to rely upon other beings, the very beings we have harmed, and those who have harmed us, by developing compassion for them. So think particularly of someone that you may have harmed recently, maybe in the past, and then maybe also think of someone who's harmed you. And because of the harm they've caused you, they're going to be experiencing some form of suffering in the future. So have extra compassion for them because of that, a real wish for them to be free from suffering. So a lot of people think, ha, 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 you get what you deserve, but it's not really the way to think. That's anger. And, you can't do anything really much about the harm that has been done to you. But what we can do is we can't control that harm that's been done to us because it's already been done. What we can do is control the way we think about it. So if our heart is full of love and compassion and kindness, that is going to be far better for us than if our heart is full of anger and bitterness. So how we deal with harm that's been done to us is so very, very important. So we think we're going to make a strong aspiration to do this practice of purification for all these people of our life and think I must purify for their sake. So then we come to the power of the remedy and we start with the body. And Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart. And it arcs around and enters your crown and pours into your entire body, and it fills you completely. And it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of your lower orifices all the harm you've ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid. And this pours out of you and disappears into space, not one atom left, as we recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Petita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasiti Mempi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Petita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasiti Mempi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajra Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is now completely purified, and think there's no way you could do anything but benefit others now with the body. And the next is a purification of our speech. And Vajrasattva now very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and forcefully enters your crown and fills your entire body, except this time forcing up to the top of your body all the negativity of your speech. You can imagine it overflows, quite powerfully overflowing, and disappears into space. So you can imagine that all the gossip, maybe inappropriate speech, maybe useless speech and lying and talking badly about others behind their backs, getting other people to agree with you. And somehow, you know how we can't find the right words. We don't know the right thing to say. All of this instantly purified with this mantra and this nectar. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tatagata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabala Mahasamaya Sattva Ahompe. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta me boa sawasidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me. Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Duda Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe. So again, feel so happy that your speech is now completely purified. And imagine it's not possible to do anything but benefit others now with your speech. So the next is a purification of the mind, and Vajrasattva now very compassionately sends powerful beams of light from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire being. So the same as when you walk into a room and flick on that switch, and the light instantly dispels the darkness, it's the same here. The moment the light from Vajrasattva's heart touches your heart chakra, all the darkness of the negativity of your mind, all attachment and grasping and bitterness and grudges and jealousy and anxiety and depression, all of this instantly dispelled with this light. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutukaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutukaya Meboa Supokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe. So just be delighted that all your delusions and the cause of our own suffering and why we harm others with our body and our speech are completely purified. And think there's no space in your heart now for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. So next is the purification of even the imprints of negativity of the body, speech, and mind. And again, imagine light and nectar pouring into you, filling you completely, and eradicating even the subtlest energy of negative energy from your mind. Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta me boa sawasidi mimpi yata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahum pe vajrasapa samaya manupalaya vajrasapa dina patita tita me boa sitokaya me boa sipokaya me boa Anarakta me boa sawasidi mimpi yata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahum pe vajrasapa samaya manupalaya vajrasapa dina patita dita me boa sitokaya me boa sipokaya me boa Anarakta me boa sawasidi mimpi yata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahum pe Vajrasapa samaya manupalaya vajrasapa dina patita dita me boa sitokaya me boa sipokaya me boa Anarakta me boa sawasidi mimpi yata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahum pe Vajrasapa samaya manupalaya vajrasapa dina patita dita me boa sitokaya me boa sipokaya me boa Anarakta me boa sawasidi mimpi yata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahum pe Vajrasapa samaya manupalaya vajrasapa dina patita dita me boa sitokaya me boa sipokaya me boa Anarakta me boa sawasidi mimpi yata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuruhum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahum pe. So now feel you're completely purified, not one atom of negativity left in your mind stream. Even the subtlest obscurations to your enlightenment have been removed. So the fourth step in this purification process is a very crucial one. This is a decision we make to try and refrain from harming with our body and our speech and our mind. So it kind of backs on to this idea of regret that we started with in the beginning. And it implies with regret that we actually want to do something. So we have to make a decision that we're going to change our habits, work on our habits. So rejoice in your efforts so far. Rejoice in coming here for 2 years plus. Amazing. And then think of something simple that you'd like to work on between now and tomorrow. And Vajrasattva is delighted with us and wanting to merge with your mind, melts into white light and absorbs into you through your crown. And think, my guru's body, speech, and mind, if you have a teacher. Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind kind of just melt into one. And then a little bit about emptiness. So whatever level you understand this concept, just think that perhaps all phenomena are empty. They don't exist from their own side. And just think that perhaps the way things appear to me may not necessarily be the way they actually exist. So let's just dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy you've created doing this purification practice to all the living beings, to all the people of your life, and think, may all the virtuous karma I've created from doing this practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. So now for those of you who have these long life prayers in your practice, I would suggest that now we'll finish. I mean, I'm 2 minutes over. And then just before you do anything else, just complete the practice with these long life prayers, if it's in your practice. And thank you very much. Lots of love. Thank you for hosting. And we lost Vanessa. Okay, never mind. All right, lots of love, everyone. Okay, bye. Good night. See some of you tomorrow morning.